Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events shaping our world. I'm your host, Walter. Today, we're looking at a developing story that's got everyone talking. It seems like Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has found himself in the crosshairs of U.S. President Donald Trump after speaking out against the recent U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran. According to reports, Sánchez not only condemned the attacks, but also drew parallels with the U.S. invasion of Iraq back in 2003, suggesting that such actions can have unintended consequences. Furthermore, he denied the U.S. access to Spanish military bases for their operations against Iran. This move has clearly not sat well with President Trump, who has vowed to cut trade ties with Spain as a result. But here's where it gets interesting. While German Chancellor Friedrich Merz was present when Trump made these comments, he didn't exactly rush to defend Madrid or acknowledge Spain's right to refuse cooperation in what many consider an illegal war effort. Instead, Merz joined Trump in criticizing Spain's reluctance to spend more on defense. On the other hand, France has come out in support of Spain, with President Emmanuel Macron expressing solidarity with Sánchez and the European Commission, stating its readiness to defend EU interests if necessary. The question now is how far the EU is willing to go to back Spain against potential US tariffs, which could violate trade rules. The situation highlights the complex web of international relations and the challenges faced by countries trying to navigate these waters while standing up for their principles. As we watch this story unfold, it's clear that there are no easy answers, but one thing is certain: the implications will be far-reaching. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. Today, we're diving into a complex and sensitive topic that's been making headlines around the world. The relationship between America and Israel has always been a multifaceted one, with deep historical roots and significant geopolitical implications. Recently, however, this alliance has been put to the test, with declining American support for Israel and rising tensions in the region. As we explore this story, it's essential to acknowledge the various perspectives at play. On one hand, Israel's defensive actions against Iran have garnered widespread support from its citizens, with many rallying behind their government and military. The threat posed by Iran is indeed a serious concern, and Israel's right to self-defense is a fundamental aspect of international law. On the other hand, the consequences of this conflict extend far beyond the immediate region. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza, the potential for escalation involving other countries, and the long-term implications for global stability are all critical factors that must be considered. Furthermore, the shift in American public opinion, as reflected in a recent Gallup poll, suggests that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is becoming increasingly polarizing even among traditional allies. It's also worth noting that the current situation is not solely defined by military actions or diplomatic posturing. The underlying issues of economic inequality, social injustice, and political polarization within Israel itself are equally pressing concerns. As the country navigates this complex landscape, it's crucial to address these internal challenges, lest they undermine the very foundations of Israeli society. As we continue to monitor developments in this story, it's essential to maintain a nuanced and balanced perspective, recognizing the legitimate concerns and aspirations of all parties involved. By doing so, we can work towards a deeper understanding of the complexities at play and foster a more informed discussion about the path forward. Welcome back to the Concrete Block. As we wrap up today's show, let's take a closer look at the escalating conflict between the US, Israel, and Iran. The situation has taken a dramatic turn, with President Trump stating that he doesn't want to negotiate an end to the war, instead demanding unconditional surrender from Iran. The president's remarks have sparked concerns about the potential for a prolonged and devastating conflict in the region. With at least 332 people killed in Iran so far, and dozens more killed in retaliatory strikes elsewhere, the humanitarian toll is already mounting. Iran is set to elect a successor to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was killed on February 28th, and Trump has made it clear that he wants to be personally involved in selecting the country's next leader. This move has been met with skepticism by many experts, who argue that it's not for the US to decide who should lead Iran. Meanwhile, Israel has announced plans to intensify its strikes against Iran's military capabilities, and the conflict is having a significant impact on global markets. Brent crude futures have soared to their highest levels in almost 2 years, and bonds are being routed across the globe as investors worry about the potential for rising energy prices. As we try to make sense of these complex and rapidly unfolding events, it's essential to remember that there are multiple perspectives at play. While some argue that a tough stance is necessary to counter Iran's aggressive behavior, others believe that diplomacy and dialogue are the only way to achieve a lasting peace. Ultimately, the outcome of this conflict will depend on a multitude of factors, including the actions of world leaders, the responses of international organizations, and the resilience of the people affected by the violence. As we continue to monitor the situation, it's crucial to stay informed and engage in respectful and nuanced discussions about the issues at hand. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.